one for you. One of the few dyeing techniques we did not try a couple of years ago when we were doing paper dyeing. And that, as you can see, is onion skin dyeing. And for this technique, you're going to need a 3-quart pan. You can use stainless steel. It will clean up very easily. But if you don't have a stainless steel pot, then by all means use what you have. You're going to need some onion skins, and they have to be dry, like when you get them from the grocery store. And you want to cut them up a little bit into 2x2 squares, not much larger than that. You can tear them up or crush them. You just want to be able to compact them a little easier. You'll also want 2 quarts of water, and you're going to put all of that on the stove and let it gently boil for about an hour. Then you can turn it down and let it steep for another couple of hours, depending on how much time you have. You're going to let them go for as long as you have time for. The longer you go, the more dye you will extract out of the onion skins, up to a point, and then they will have no more dye to give you. It's better to try and get dye out of a second boil than to get it all out of the first boil. Nevertheless, let that all cool down and then strain it into a temporary, I use a Pyrex, but you could put it in a mason jar, whatever you have. Pour it into a tray large enough to accommodate your paper. So if you're using 8.5 by 11, then you're going to use 9 by 12. If you're using a baking dish, you can use a cookie sheet. I'm using a plastic box, a Sterlite box, because you're going to be able to slip the paper in there and stack it up just like any other dye job. So I just want you to see what you can expect. This is handmade paper, and you can expect some tone of muted yellow into the khaki or a manila folder range. This is not going to be a bright yellow like we did with turmeric. And if you want to brighten up your onion skin dye, this is yellow skin only, you can add a little bit of turmeric, but remember that turmeric, it takes hardly anything to turn the water bright yellow. So you want to make sure that you're very light-handed with it, and it will stain everything. Fair warning. What kind of paper can you use, and what kind of results can you expect? Well, in my little test run here, I used white cardstock and a bright white copy paper. As you can see, the cardstock took on shades of yellow, pale khaki, and a little bit of a red tinge, depending on where the paper landed in the tray. And more than that, I can't really tell you. The copy paper took the same range of colors. However, the splotchy copy paper you see was from a second batch I did, and the dye was a little more concentrated because I used my wet onion skins to produce 2 more quarts of water, and then reduced that liquid a little bit to about 1.5 quarts. And what I found out is that if you're going to do a deep, rich dye, you have to run your dye through a coffee filter or some old bed sheet or something to strain out any particles, because they will leave stains that won't be attractive. And then, as you saw before, I also dyed 2 pieces of handmade paper. I still have a fair amount of handmade paper from a couple of years ago, but I don't have enough either plain white or off-white to use in dye experiments, because I've already used it for other things. If you have any questions or you'd like to see a live demonstration, please let me know in comments. This was the only one of the, 6 or 7 major paper dyeing techniques that we did not do a couple of years ago, as I said earlier. Thanks for stopping by. God bless you, and I'll see you real soon.